here are some of my favorite cooking oils and fats. What we're not going to do is reach for highly processed and inflammatory seed oils like this canola oil. Instead, I'll swap it out with a high quality olive oil or avocado oil, but my favorite are animal fats like tallow, ghee, and butter.
With the amount of people on the internet that say that seed oils are inflammatory, therefore you should switch to animal fats with higher saturated fat content, you would expect there would be a preponderance of evidence backing up these claims. The reason people say to avoid seed oils and switch to things like butter is because seed oils like canola oil contains an abundant amount of polyunsaturated omega-6 fatty acids. But things like butter and olive oil contain far fewer amounts of these unsaturated fatty acids. I do think that the first recommendation given by this individual may help reduce systemic inflammation. If you look at the effects of olive oil, sunflower oil, rapeseed oil, also known as canola oil, on inflammatory markers, after 4 weeks of consuming olive oil, participants' measures of C-reactive protein, which is one of, if not the most, consistent inflammatory markers within the bloodstream, went from about 0.9 to 0.52, indicating a reduction in inflammation. Comparatively, the sunflower group went from 0.9 to 0.75, still with a reduction in inflammation, despite what many people might tell you, simply just not as much as olive oil. However, the rapeseed oil, which is also known as canola oil, and is probably the most heavily demonized unsaturated fat, saw participants' C-reactive protein level go from 1.1 to 0.44, indicating a significant and superior reduction in inflammation even compared to olive oil. But what happens when we compare these seed oils to saturated fats? When you give participants either 50 grams of butter or 50 grams of sunflower oil, the group consuming the sunflower oil, which is one of the most widely consumed seed oils, see a drastically reduced level of inflammatory markers within their bloodstream compared to the saturated fat meal. Another trial in which participants either ate a high vegetable oil diet or a high butter diet for 10 weeks, despite consuming the exact same amount of calories, the seed oil group saw significant reductions in inflammatory markers, whereas the saturated fat group, on average, saw increases in essentially all inflammatory markers. Additionally, the group consuming seed oil saw drastic reductions in their liver fat, whereas the saturated fat group saw drastic increases in their liver fat content. And on average, the saturated fat group became much more insulin resistant, whereas the unsaturated fat group actually saw a decrease in their insulin resistance. At the end of the day, the preponderance of evidence indicates that swapping out vegetable oils for things like butter, ghee, and tallow actually increase inflammatory markers, whereas the consumption of these vegetable oils decrease them. With that being said, we don't know if there are individual differences in one's inflammatory reaction to these oils. We also know that repeatedly heating oils may actually lead to detrimental health effects. Therefore, in the context in which you are consuming these oils at extremely high temperatures, or you are repeatedly heating the same oil, which may occur in places like restaurants and fast food places, there may be differences in your inflammatory reaction to them. But we do not have evidence corroborating the fact that butter is less inflammatory than seed oils. Actually, we have evidence to the contrary. With that being said, if you would like an individualized approach to your nutrition and lifestyle to optimize your health, energy, and body composition, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.